Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a beer, it's time for some Path of Exile discussion. Today, I wanted to look at one of the new skills that was revealed in the 3.15 teaser trailer, and this time I'm going to look at one that's flown a bit under the radar. A lot of people haven't paid much attention to this. I think that Blade Trap is going to be a skill that will have a very, very real niche in the meta, and this will be a very powerful boss melting skill. However, it's something that has pretty derisory clear speed, as you will also see. So the strengths of this is it's going to be a massive amount of damage in a small area. The weakness is that it's going to be a small area. But let's just showcase what the skill does. This is taken from the GGG official release trailer, and I'll just talk over it. I've muted the sound. So this is Blade Trap. You'll see the first one's going to be thrown to a top left monster. And then now there's been another trap has just been thrown down here at this zombie. And you'll get to see what it does here. It will explode into a swirling mist of daggers of some description. And there you go. And that eventually sort of melts the enemy. And, well, actually, concretely, it freezes it because this character has been inflicting cold damage. Here it is in action. And you can see that it's taking a long time to clear these monsters. It's killing them fast once it's actually hitting them. But there's just not much damage projection, and that is the weakness of the skill. However, it's certainly getting them down smoothly. So, with that in mind, how does the skill work? So it is a trap skill. That means that you're throwing something on the ground, enemy steps on it, kaboom, it sets it off. Once it does trigger, it is going to swing 2 copies of your equipped dagger or claw around it in a circle. Each one of them will repeatedly damage enemies they spin through. The trap lasts for 4 seconds and rotates 4 times by default, but 5 times if you are dual wielding, and it will have an increased rotation speed if you are dual wielding. So you can use this as a say dagger and shield setup, in which case you will get 4 hits per blade trap potentially, or you can use it as a dual wield, say 2 claws, and then you will get 5 hits. One thing that's very important, you can only use this with those 2 weapons, and when we get to scaling it, you will see that this would be absolutely phenomenal if you could use it with swords, because of the unique sword Rebuke of the Vaal, but that is not an option. So, how would you go about scaling this damage? Well, firstly, it sort of scales itself somewhat. You are potentially, if you can pin a boss in one place and throw 15 default maximum traps at its feet, or potentially you can scale it up to 21 without any 22 without doing anything unreasonable at all, just with things you would naturally take on a lot of trap characters, then you're suddenly looking at hitting that boss 22 times in the first second for 55% of base damage, then hitting them again, like you've got an echo after 1 second, or 0.8 seconds if you're using dual wield, then another echo, and then a 5th echo if you are using it as a dual wield skill. So for that reason, a Blade Trap can do a phenomenal amount of damage. You're going to want to pin a boss down in place to do this, and I think that the best way to pin a boss in place these days is simply Decoy Totem. Have the boss be attacking a Decoy Totem, and when you're doing that, then mince them, throw Blade Traps at their feet, and just watch them melt. So, how would you scale the damage on this? My first thought, and I want to explain this one because it ended up being wrong, but my first thought was something that many others may consider doing, and that was to scale it as an assassin through poison. And so I thought, oh, Noxious Strike, that's going to give me really long-lasting poisons, isn't it? But that was where I got it wrong, and that was because Blade Trap, it is the Blade Trap that would be inflicting poisons. They would be my poisons, but they would not be inflicted by me. And so that means that Noxious Strike would get the increased duration, but it would not trigger Noxious Strike's internal counter. And so for that reason, that's a little bit of an aside, but that's why Noxious Strike is a little bit of a trap. I actually think that you probably want to play this as a saboteur. And the ways that I thought of scaling this, you could potentially scale it with just traditional poison scaling anyway, and then you could use any weapons that deal physical or chaos damage. Or alternately, you could use the heist exclusive Pneumatic Daggers. Pneumatic Daggers are something that drop in Grand Heists only, and they're the level 70 version of the base. There's a level 50 and a level 30 version as well that no one really ever uses. But Pneumatic Daggers have the unique property that this weapon's elemental damage can poison as though it was physical or chaos damage. This doesn't actually make it poison. You still need to get 100% chance to poison from somewhere, but it has the capability to poison. And so this is one option that you've got for Blade Trap. You could seriously scale it through poison with elemental damage via Pneumatic Daggers. You could also scale Blade Trap's damage through poison using the other special high space, the Void Claws, so Void Fang Claws. These have an implicit modifier that causes them to do additional chaos damage, and that can be quite solid as well. And lastly, you can just use weapons that have naturally pretty slow attack speeds, but a lot of damage, which isn't usually the case in amongst daggers and claws. You can use, but what you can do is use the unique dagger Volcanus is one option, or the other unique dagger that comes to mind is Mark of the Doubting Knight. Both of these do a lot of damage. Both of them have pretty slow attack speeds, especially Mark of the Doubting Knight is the slowest dagger that exists in the game. And so these are options you could use. It's a real pity that you can't use Rebuke of the Vaal, the unique sword, because it would be the single best weapon that you could use with Blade Trap, but it's not an option because you can't use a dagger or a claw. Anyway, that's my initial thoughts on Blade Trap. I don't think I would want this as your only skill on a character, and that makes it really difficult to build around. It feels like it is something for a dedicated boss killer build, but you would still need the ability to do to have reasonable clear speed. Otherwise, getting to bosses is going to be a miserable experience. I haven't solved this problem as yet. I am curious if you've got any ideas. It may just be that your guild in Path of Exile is looking for a dedicated bosser. You want to play that role, then using Decoy Totem to pin bosses and Blade Trap to annihilate them may very well be the way to go. Alternately, if you're looking for something that's a little bit different, that's a little bit slower, but that will be really good against tougher enemies, Blade Trap may be worth your while considering. If you've got any comments or questions, though, definitely fire away. Otherwise, I'm going to leave it there, and I hope you have a good one. May your Vaal Orbs have interesting results.